We wanted to take the time to share with you all today just all the different opportunities that Fullbright has for your campus to engage. So that includes, opportunities for your faculty to go abroad, your staff, even your students maybe after they complete if you have students that go on to complete a 4-year degree, opportunities for them you can kind of keep in mind. And importantly too, opportunities to bring visitors to your campus, which I personally, I'm a little biased, I guess, but I do think community colleges in particular stand to gain a lot for having visitors on your campus as well. So I'll review all of those kinds of options today. So as you can see, of course, I'll talk a little more about this, but Fullbright has, opportunities for U.S. citizens to go abroad and for citizens of other countries to come to the United States to do research, teach, study, and carry out professional projects and attend seminars. So I'll kind of walk through the different options for Americans and then also walk through different options for you to host visitors on your campus. I will try to reserve as much time as I can at the end, but I think especially considering the size of group we have, if you have questions, do not wait to the end, just raise your hand and we can kind of answer questions as we go along. And we have an hour, right? Mm-hmm. An hour, okay, great. Okay. All right, so I think, if you've made your way here, you've probably heard of Fullbright in some way, shape, or form, but just so everyone's aware, Fullbright is the U.S. government's flagship educational and cultural exchange program. We were founded in 1946 by an act of Congress, and the U.S. Scholar Program continues today to be sponsored by the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, and administered by me and my team at the Institute of International Education. So also in general, when you're dealing with Fullbright, if you ever hear people talk about IIE staff or Fullbright staff, like me and my team are Fullbright staff, but we're based at the Institute of International Education. So just so you know, that's kind of what that structure is. We're an implementing agency and a collaborative partner for the State Department to implement these programs. Fullbright was founded with the mission to foster mutual understanding between nations, advance knowledge across communities, and improve lives around the world. Obviously, we understand those are incredibly lofty goals to guide your way, but those really do influence our work day to day here at Fullbright. And so to accomplish those goals, we partner with countries really around the world to offer passionate and accomplished faculty, artists, professionals, and students the chance to study, do research, teach, carry out professional projects, and attend seminars in other countries. So Fullbright, of course, is an educational exchange, but it really was founded as a cultural exchange and as a diplomatic effort, which I think is something people don't always realize. That this was founded at a time in world history, which is where we were just kind of at the end of World War II, and people were trying to figure out a way to keep something of that scale from happening ever again. And there was a real acknowledgement that giving everyday people the chance to get to know their peers, and particularly in an academic setting where people are engaged in sharing ideas and creating solutions to the problems that you have during the day or of the day. Fullbright was, because before Fullbright was founded, diplomacy almost exclusively looked like governments talking to governments, and I think we all can appreciate you get a very different view of a society and of a culture when you talk to people versus government officials. And so that's really, Fullbright, of course, has all these opportunities for funding to do all these exciting activities, but at its core, it really is a diplomatic effort. And so because of that, diversity and inclusion and equity and access as well are really central to the work that we do at Fullbright. Like we say, especially to Americans going abroad, you are not a representative of the U.S. government, but you are a representative of the American people simply by participating in these programs. So, of course, for us to carry out that charge, we have to make sure that, the people who have those opportunities are as diverse as the United States is. So, of course, you all are based here in Nevada, but we always like to make sure that people know that no matter where they are in the U.S. or how they identify or who they are, this is absolutely something that's open to you. So why is this something your institution might want to engage in? I think there's some people where the nature of their work makes them kind of more, or maybe their own background, makes them a little more internationally minded and interested in pursuing these kinds of programs. But there's other people for which this may sound nice, but it's not something that really is easy for, people may not think of it as something they would do in their day-to-day work. So why is this something you might want to pursue? Fulbright lets you bring the world to your campus. I know that might sound kind of corny, but I do believe that's true. You know, you have the chance to have your faculty maybe go abroad and have teaching experience that they bring back here. And also maybe host visitors from other countries, often from countries that your students may not be very familiar with, or your campus community might not be very familiar with, to share their country's culture and their experience here on campus. So that's one thing. And then allowing, having your institution be engaged in these kinds of programs really often do lead to student participation in international efforts. And that may look different depending on, what students are able to do and also where you are. Some of your students may go on to complete 4-year degrees, and, in which case being able to pursue maybe Fulbright opportunities down the line or study abroad down the line might be something that's open to them. You may have others who are part-time students who are really kind of just focused on getting the training that they need in order to further their career or whatever it is that they're doing. But I think something that I actually come from a campus. I've been at Fulbright for a few years now, but before that I was at Wayne State University in Detroit. And I had the unique experience of working under a vice president who oversaw our international programs and also what they called educational outreach, which included all of our transfer agreements and partnerships with community colleges. And people kind of would raise their eye. He kind of fell into that role, but he always said it was a natural fit because, he said everyone can benefit from having these kinds of experiences. And in Detroit, especially because we have the dominant auto industry, where you have people who are executives, people who are engineers, and also people who are like working on the line at, factories and things like that. But he said no matter who you are, if you live and work in America, you're going to have to be able to communicate and work with people who aren't like you. And I think having that perspective really can help people see the benefit of engaging with international visitors on your campus, whether it's taking a class from a visiting professor, like going to events and things like that, where you might there might be visitors on campus and there's like a meet and greet or things like that, but you're in a position where you can really open students' worldview. Also, these opportunities are funded travel. These are opportunities for faculty to go abroad to do research or teach or to carry out projects. We also have opportunities for staff who work in international education to pursue projects abroad, but so just to keep that in mind too, at the end of the day, these are things that bring resources to your campus to be able to carry out these kinds of activities. And also this lets you show off your institution's expertise. I know we've talked quite a bit even just today about all of the amazing things that your faculty are doing here. And also the way that the American higher education system is structured is really pretty unique in terms of, comparing it to how other countries have structured those systems. And being able to show off just exactly what kind of amazing work people at a community college can do, I actually think can be really impactful. So something to think about. So as I mentioned, I'm going to walk through just ways that your school can engage.
Oh, yay. Administrators can apply.
Yes, they can. So I'm excited.
Administrators can apply. Yeah.
There's a whole program just for administrators. So yeah. So we have awards that kind of for individuals to apply. And then, for Americans to go abroad, and then also opportunities for visitors to come to your campus that might be more kind of institutionally focused. So all a lot to think about. Okay. So first our, just plain and simple, U.S. Scholar Awards. So these are, I think, what a lot of people think of when they first think of Fulbright. These are opportunities for U.S. citizens to go abroad, to do research, teach, or carry out professional projects. And the way the program is structured is that we work with, more than 130 countries around the world, and they work with us to communicate what kinds of scholars and what kinds of projects they're looking for. And then that all translates into more or less 400 individual awards that are offered on our site. So as a scholar, if you were interested to do this, you would go to our site, identify an award that's a good fit for you and for your project, and kind of focus on that. These are longer term awards. These are anywhere from 2 to 12 months. I will say the vast majority time frame is really more like 3 to 4 months to maybe 10 months. I think that's much more common. And these cover the cost of you being in country. So, your travel, your housing, you get a living stipend, things like that. These are available to people really at all stages in their career. We do also have everywhere from, kind of like early career academics all the way to people who are about to retire and kind of everything in between. We do also have a lot of our awards around the world this year that we've given people, because we've gotten demand, frankly, from schools abroad that they really have appreciated having community college faculty be on their campuses. And if you think about it, you all probably know better than I do that you are experts at teaching undergraduate students in a lot of ways. And so this year in our search catalog, we actually have a function for you to filter for awards that have explicitly asked for community college faculty. It's one of the search functions, so something to remember. And the cycle is always the same. You always apply in September for the following academic year. So our awards are currently open, and they allow you to, and then our awards are currently open. You apply by September 16th for awards to take place in the 25-26 academic year.
Jacqueline, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Did I understand you correctly to say that there's institutions around the world that might specifically want community college faculty because we emphasize teaching as opposed to doing more research or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, community college faculty are also able to do research projects. That is, you're not exclusively, you're not restricted to teaching. I just find that expertise tends to be really strong at community colleges, the teaching aspect of things. Yeah.
Great, good.
Yeah. So, and and that's coming from the countries that we're working with. So, so that's why we just asked them when we were reviewing awards this year to indicate if they wanted to express that openness, and we were pleased to see that a lot of countries did. So you can search by that now too. So, and I think it also helps people apply with a little more confidence that like, oh, people are really looking for someone with my profile. Something to think about. So I realize this group is interested in these kinds of awards, so I know this may seem obvious to you, but for everything, I do like to explain just, why is this something you might want to consider? For people who teach, conduct research, or want to carry out projects abroad, this lets you bring new perspectives to your classroom. Yes?
Oh, and let's make sure too, we know that for the audience that part-time faculty are eligible.
Yes, yeah, part-time and adjuncts and are absolutely eligible. This lets you bring new perspectives to your classroom. For a lot of your students, especially as a lot of community colleges are, more local serving institutions, and that's kind of by design, which is fine. But this gives you a chance to maybe connect your students with their peers in your host country. I've seen some professors come back and do some pretty cool things, being able to connect their students virtually and have kind of, whether that's language classes or culture classes or just, and even sometimes for more technical classes to see what their peers are doing abroad. That can be a really cool thing. And also to heighten the profile of your campus and really just show off your expertise. Like, you have a lot to share. And, so in addition to what you would bring back, I think you all are in a position to really contribute a lot as well to these places that are hosting you. So that's something to think about. So so I'll also share my slides just so people have them, so you don't have to worry about writing things down. But anything for the Scholar program and for everything I talk about, I'm going to have the website as well, just so you know where to find it. But everything you are looking for U.S. Scholar Awards is at FullbrightScholars.org. That's really how you'll get to all these different things I'm talking about. And then just a quick plug for your students too. They're just like there are U.S. Scholar Awards, there are student awards as well. These are for U.S. citizens to go abroad to study, research, and also serve as English teaching assistants in more than 130 countries. These are longer term awards as well. They're anywhere from 6 to 12 months, and they kind of similarly cover your cost of being in country. These are open to all fields of study, and you do need to have a bachelor's degree to participate in the student program. So of course I realize not all of your students might be on that path, but for those that are, if they show an interest, I think it's never too early to start planning. I think this is just a good thing for them to be aware of, that this is open to them. I'm happy to talk more about that, but just to be aware that there is a student side of things as well, and everything is on us.fullbrightonline.org.
And let's just clarify too, I heard this morning, that students, we do have some 4-year programs now, but the students could start applying before they get their degree, because it's a year out or so. So as juniors or as seniors.
Well, as seniors, yeah.
even though we maybe don't use those terms as much, but if it's like a
Yeah.
year out, they could start applying as long as they have it before the grant starts.
Correct, yeah. So it's a similar timeline to the Scholar Award where you apply in the fall for things to take place in the following academic year. So, excuse me. So as you saw at the beginning too, we have awards open to international education administrators. And so when we talk about administrators, it's really, to me, like kind of two big camps of people. One are people who work in international education on a more day-to-day basis. They might be in international students and scholars office, or a study abroad office, or an office of international programs, things like that. But then on the other side of things, it's simply, faculty or people in positions of leadership who may have a really big those people might be a chair, a dean, a vice president, a president, things like that. But, in a portfolio in that kind of a position, of course, you oversee a lot of different things, and the international efforts or international engagement might fall under that. So that would render you eligible as well for most awards. So these are 2-week seminars that allow you to go to a host country abroad to really just do a deep dive into their higher education system and their context. You are very busy. You have a really packed schedule during those 2 weeks, but this allows you to, you engage in site visits at universities and also meet with a lot of government officials. You have briefings with government agencies, and also they'll often schedule events, just like networking events for cohorts while they're in country, and tours of historical and cultural sites, which of course are fun, but those also do serve a purpose. If you think about it, those really give you an idea of the context in which these countries are operating too.
So is this just for universities, or is there other types of higher education, like technical schools? Like Peru, Senati, that would be equivalent to TMCC?
Yeah, so this would be, IEA awards are open for administrators that are at U.S. institutions of higher education. So that includes colleges and universities, but also community colleges, technical schools, arts institutes. You just need to be an institution of higher education.
But visiting what type of an institution is what I'm saying.
Oh, of course, yeah. So
for community college,
mm-hmm.
we already have some relationships, like within Peru,
Mm-hmm.
it's Senati, which is the largest entity, which is a technical
Mm-hmm.
academy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking.
Thank you. Yeah. So what you do while you're in country is actually arranged by the host country. So they'll usually take who is in their cohort into account, and they are typically looking for a very diverse cohort, and in the true sense of that word. They're looking for people at different kinds of institutions, looking for people from different states, from different regions of the United States, people who have different kinds of roles, things like that. And their goal is really to show, give you insight into how their system is structured. So you wouldn't be arranging your own visits. You would be, they make your arrangements for you for this particular program.
Yeah, so in that arrangement that they cover, I guess is like, for me, I don't know if I would benefit going to a university versus something
Mm-hmm.
else, educational, that's related to community college. Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, it sounds like you just want to have an idea of what you would be visiting in order. So just show you. So for people at a school like TMCC, Taiwan, India, Japan, Korea, France, and Germany are the countries to where, because we have one award that's specific for HBCUs, which TMCC is not one, which is fine. And so you apply to the country, you would apply to a country where you're looking to learn more, and where you can make a good case for how your institution could benefit from you gaining this experience. And then the host country really arranges your visit for you. I will say, just to be clear, you'd go to a wide range of institutions. So there might be some that might on the surface might not seem like they might not be kind of a peer institution to you. But I would also argue that there's a lot that you could learn from visiting institutions that might not be like yours. And also they have a lot to learn from you. Like, I think the way community colleges are structured here in the United States and the role that they serve, and I say that with my own experience with community colleges, I really think that that's a major strength of the American system, which is also why community colleges are actually priority type of institution for IEA awards. And so, yeah, I think that's an understandable concern, to be honest. I would probably have the same question myself, but just to keep that in mind, like there's a lot that you would also have to benefit, that you would be able to give to them.
Did you say the invitation comes first from them? Do they say, we would like to have somebody come to our institution? Does it originate with them?
So an important difference with IEA seminars is that these are cohort-based programs. So what you apply to do is to be a part of that cohort. So if you were to apply to maybe go to Germany, you would be applying for, to be one of the certain number of spots in that group that everyone travels to Germany together, like as a delegation of people. And then while you're in country, the host country arranges your entire itinerary for you, and you go from place to place really as a group. So that's, I think, a key difference. It's not you proposing what you'll do, it's you proposing why you think you would benefit from this experience. And different from other Fulbright opportunities too, you're not proposing a project, you're again kind of just making your case for yourself. And the IEA application is actually, it's more like a series of essays. Like you don't put together a project. You, again, just present how you can benefit and how your institution can benefit. And I actually think of IEA awards as more of an institutional opportunity that you apply for to represent your institution versus, of course, how you can personally develop professionally from participating in this, that of course is important, and it's something you should talk about in your application. But I would say how your institution will benefit is just as important. So I hope that helps. But like I said, I think this is something that I think you would have a lot to gain from, and also a lot to contribute to as well. This is something that lets you expand your U.S. network of people at other institutions. They may be like yours, they may be different, but I think you all have a lot to learn from one another. And it also helps you build partnerships in the country that's hosting you. And again, this is another example of something that's a fully funded opportunity for you to have this experience abroad. And I think when you are, however you engage with international engagement here on campus, but you might work with students, you might do partnerships, you might, contribute to departments here that teach courses that are related to international affairs or more like global studies and things like that. Being able to have this experience, I think, can really prepare someone to. It can really prepare you to do that work, but with a different perspective. So.
And just before we move on, it seemed when I checked the website when I heard about this program that it looked as though at that time a few months ago, Germany, France, Japan were ones I saw of having programs where it seemed like they were interested in having us come. Does that make sense? Like, in other words, they're the ones saying, yeah, come on over and visit us, as opposed to us saying, oh, I'd like to go to Peru, or I'd like to go to Cambodia.
So IEA awards, like I said, are all kind of cohort-based programs where you apply. So all of these countries all are saying, please apply. We have this trip that we're going to arrange for you, and we need people to fill these spaces to make a diverse cohort to represent American higher education in our country, and also to, for us to learn from you. So it's Taiwan, India, Japan, Korea, France, and Germany. So like I said, France and Senegal is specific for HBCUs, so TMCC wouldn't be eligible on a technicality. Okay. All right, so just something to remember where to find this. You can find everything at fulbrightscholars.org/IEA. It's where you'll find all the information you need to apply, including the application itself. And another thing I was particularly excited to talk to you about today is the specialist program. I do not personally work on the specialist program, but it's one I've seen a lot of the faculty I used to work with at my institution pursue. These are shorter term awards. They're 2 to 6 weeks. Instead of, for a U.S. Scholar Award, as an example, you present a project that you plan to do abroad, and you would be there for a longer period of time. The specialist program allows you to simply present it's kind of structured in a way that I've never seen another program structured this way. It's a roster-based system where you present yourself to the program, kind of just as an expert in your field. And if you're accepted, you're put on what's called the specialist roster. And then from there, you can be selected to engage in 2 to 6 week, what the State Department calls project-based exchanges. I think of those as kind of being consulting in nature, where you'll go to a host institution abroad for this shorter term project to address a specific need that they have. They might want someone from Fullbright to come maybe teach a short course. They might want someone to be give a series of lectures over 2 to 3 weeks on their campus, maybe in partnership with other schools in the area. It's really a wide range of things, but this is really Fullbright's one opportunity that allows you to take on shorter visits, which for a lot of people, I think as someone who works with faculty truly every day who are trying to go abroad for longer periods of time, we also fully understand that that's simply not in the cards for everyone. Some people might not be able to be gone for that long. And I think being able to be gone for a month is very different than being gone for, say, an entire semester. So this is really a way that can, allow you to engage with Fullbright, but also maybe lay the groundwork for future work as well. And so this is also something to think about. So yeah, I don't know if there's questions about that, but I just wanted to make sure, because I find a lot of community college faculty, this is some, being gone for, depending on the institution, there's some people who might look at Fullbright and say, like, I can't be gone a whole semester. This is like a non-starter. Whereas I think specialist does kind of give you that opportunity to maybe pursue a project abroad and make connections, and you can still benefit really greatly from that, and they can benefit from having you on their campuses. And so, also an important point, so how I mentioned, I don't work on this program. I'm based at the Institute of International Education. The specialist program is now run by our colleagues at an organization called World Learning, who does very similar work to IIE. They're just a different organization. And so everything for specialists you will find at fulbrightspecialist.worldlearning.org. Okay, and now, so those are really the main opportunities I wanted to share with you all about bringing people about you going abroad and people from your campus going abroad. But the next few are opportunities for you to bring people to your campus here in Reno. One big one is the Fullbright Scholar in Residence, or SIR program as we call it. This allows institutions to apply to host a visiting scholar to teach on your campus. This program really is focused on teaching. And to engage with your community for up to a full year. You can apply for 1 semester or a full academic year. Scholars then apply separately and are matched with institutions who are looking for people who are seeking their expertise. SIR is really ideal, in my mind, for institutions that are interested to engage with Fullbright. They'd love to host someone, but they don't necessarily have connections abroad, or maybe wouldn't really know where to start. And this is, an opportunity for you to work with Fullbright to have a funded faculty member come to your campus, because they would receive, a stipend, travel allowance, and things like that to really cover their costs. But this allows you to host someone on your campus. This allows you to invite someone to teach and, really increase your capacity in that way. You just have an extra teacher on your staff for a semester or a year. They're also happy while they're on campus to, assist in curriculum development. If you're looking to establish exchange partnerships, they're a natural person to talk to. And also just to provide a new perspective for your campus and really to engage with your community. We were talking earlier today at UNR about how, institutions are also welcome to have kind of co-applicants for this program. So that's something to think about. If you might not have, a lot of capacity, because hosting someone takes effort, right? Even if they're funded, you still have to kind of arrange their visit and things like that. If you would want to spread that out, but also by extension, expand this person's impact while they're in this region of Nevada, maybe partnering with a 4-year program, whether that's UNR or another institution, to kind of jointly apply to host an SIR. That's something we see pretty often, and I was telling Gwen earlier, I actually think that makes for a really compelling application from an institution because it allows you to really show that, you know, this person would be reaching that many more people and they would have that much more of an impact being hosted by your community. So that is something to consider. We actually have on fulbrightscholars.org/SIR, you'll be able to see everything that you need in order to apply. Applications are due the first week in June for the following academic year, so it's coming up. But that is something that, whether you would, if this is of interest, you could apply this year, maybe apply the next year. The cycle is almost always the same. Always apply in early June for the following academic year. So something to think about. And on our site as well, we had a webinar back in March, which kind of walks through the application process and things in more detail. And then in the first week of May, we also have a webinar coming up to really give institutions a chance to get questions answered about their applications and that kind of thing. So that's all on the SIR website. Yes?
May I have a quick question about this? If we're interested in that, because there's been some conversation about
Yeah.
that possibility, is, in terms of the matchmaking process, is it that we think, oh, which discipline would we want to find somebody in, or is it to see what pool of people might want to come and what their disciplines are?
You present, that's a good question. You present what you would like to host. So you do have to have that you have to have that idea. And then, because then scholars, think about it this way, like scholars are also right now, working on their applications to apply from their home countries. And then once all of that is collected, they're able to, my colleagues that work on SIR can look at institutions that are looking for people and scholars that are, kind of finalists and see what's a good match for people.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this? All right. Another program I was excited to talk to you about too is the Outreach Lecturing Fund, or OLF. I think of OLF as really a great like first step for institutions or departments who are interested to engage with Fulbright, but they kind of might not know where to start or might not have a lot of capacity at the moment to handle the different kinds of things you can do with Fulbright. OLF. Just like we have programs for American scholars to go abroad, there's also a whole visiting scholar program that funds people from other countries to come to the United States. And so while these scholars are in country, it was recognized that, these people could have so much more of an impact if they go beyond just their community that's already hosting them. And so the Outreach Lecturing Fund allows campuses to host Fulbright scholars who are already here on their grants for the year, to engage in short-term speaking engagements. So that comes through the avenue of short-term travel grants. Typically, OLF visits are anywhere from 2 to 5 days, which covers their, airfare, their transportation to and from the airport, and also a per diem to help cover costs. If host institutions are able to cover any costs, that's great, but if they're not, that's all right. You just should make that clear in your application, because I would argue that OLF is one of I think it's an underutilized program. I think a lot of schools are not aware that this is something that you can apply for. And I would actually say it's not a very heavy lift of an application. I mean, you do need to present just like what you plan for this person to do, but it's not, I think compared to other programs, it's really not that intensive in terms of what's asked of you as a host institution. So I would encourage you to keep this in mind, because this really helps visiting scholars maximize their time while they're in the U.S. And someone might be based, in another state that would never be able to come to Reno without the support. And it also kind of lets you all take advantage of these people being here. There might be someone in a field that you'd be interested to have maybe do classroom visits or give a series of talks. There might be someone from a country where your students may not have a lot of experience with, and it might be really educational for them to hear from someone from a new country. That might sound kind of obvious, but I think that can really be pretty impactful. So I just want you all to remember that this is something that's open to you as well as an institution.
And is it a rolling deadline or?
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. So there's not like a hard deadline for the year. They kind of consider applications, kind of as they come in. So,
Great.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I think this is really perfect for institutions that are interested to kind of get started with Fulbright, but really may not know where to start necessarily. I know you all are not starting from zero. You do have some engagement with Fulbright, but it's like, but OLF can really be a good sort of first step. So.
Well, I'll just say that I was thinking when I've heard about this program, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to get somebody from another country to come to my communication classes and talk about nonverbals and things that are different, in different countries. So
Yeah.
it motivated me to go start looking through all that long list of people that were in the country. And I saw a lot of scientists and a lot of this. I didn't come across a communications person yet, but that would be part of how we do matchmaking, right? We could go and look to see what people's specialties are.
Yes.
Right, and see if there's a natural match for any of us.
Yeah.
Right, and we'd have the discussion here to say, who do we want to come to campus?
Yeah, we've done this one before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, we've had people from UNR who were, a scholar in residence for say a year or a semester, and they came here and gave a presentation. We've done that a couple of times in recent years.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. And I think, I think it's good to, use that to kind of engage with people who are close by, but also for people who might be a little farther away, because usually that, the barrier to that is cost. And so having some travel funding available can really be helpful. All right. And last but certainly not least is the Visiting Scholar Program. So this, as I mentioned, just like we have the U.S. Scholar Program to send Americans out, we have a Visiting Scholar Program to bring faculty from other countries to teach and conduct research at U.S. institutions. So if you all might, if you do have partners in other countries that you would be interested to host, this is a way that you could do that. And you would be able to support them in doing that by providing what's called a letter of invitation that they can provide with their application. So visiting scholars apply in their home country. It's typically at the U.S. Embassy or the Fullbright Commission in their country. And then, it's kind of a similar timeline to the U.S. program as well, although it can vary from country to country, but you're, applying during the previous year to go the next year. And so if that's of interest, providing that letter of invitation can really, so in some cases it's necessary, but it can really help their application.
Just a clarification, is this the same as the SIR?
No, it's a different program.
And just in a nutshell, what's the difference?
So the difference is that for the Scholar in Residence program, you as the institution do not have to have a contact abroad. What you have to do is simply, and you also provide a proposal to Fulbright of what you want that person to teach. And also SIR is exclusively for teaching. It's not a research-based grant. Versus for the Visiting Scholar program, that scholar is applying to be hosted at a U.S. institution, but there's not that matchmaking process. Like if they apply without an institution in mind, there might be like a kind of placement process, but it's not based on anything that you've provided as an institution. So SIR to me is really, again, ideal for people who might want to invite a visiting scholar, but you don't know who that person would be, Whereas for the Visiting Scholar program, you have to be able to, you have to know who that person is and, provide them, you have to have that relationship already, is guess what I'm trying to say. You have to be able, enough at least to provide them with a letter of invitation to provide with their application. Yeah. Okay. So I'm obviously happy to stay for the rest of the hour for questions, but that's what I have for you. I know it was a lot. Fulbright, I keep going, you've heard me say this 8 times today. Fulbright's a really big umbrella of programs, and there's a lot of things that kind of fall under that umbrella, so it can be kind of confusing. So I hope this maybe at least helps you get a little bit more about what's possible and know what you might want to investigate going forward. I'm happy, I know this is being recorded, I'm happy to share my slides just for you all to have on hand to refer to things, because importantly, as you probably saw on the slides, everything has their own website, and I think that can be, and those individual websites for the different kind of programs within the broader Fullbright program is where you'll find all the specific information that you need.
Can I ask a question? Just one of your very first slides. I think I saw that visiting scholars or foreign, I think it was called foreign students maybe, was a very high number. Are there many more coming in from outside to America than are sending people out?
I think so. Yeah. Here, let's go back.
It might have been like your very first slide.
Yeah, that's one of the intro slides. Oh, you might be thinking of the other presentation. Yeah, but I do think we have more visitors, more visiting students at least than going abroad. So.